Hey guys, my name is Saad. I am a nurse practitioner. I practice in the setting of home care. So I actually go to people's homes and provide primary care over there. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. Today I wanted to talk about the prescription monitoring service that we use to figure out whether a patient has been on a controlled substance medication or not. So some of my patients, they do require narcotics or controlled substances like benzos, like Xanax, and other narcotics such as hydrocodone and things of that nature. So before I prescribe these medications in Illinois, we are legally obligated to check the prescription monitoring database and just to see when was the last time the prescription was prescribed and dispensed to these patients. So today is April 21st of 2020, and this story actually starts in March of 2019. So as I was working and prescribing medication, I do check the Illinois prescription monitoring database, and there's two main categories within the website that gives you more information about yourself, not about the patient, but about your behaviors in prescribing controlled substances. One section is called Your Search History. Basically, it shows you which patients you have searched for before prescribing any narcotics, which makes sense because let's say you're going and seeing the patient and you're going to put in their name and search the database. So it shows you the names of the patients that you have searched for before. The second relevant link in the prescription monitoring database is actually called My Prescriptions. So obviously, as the name states, it shows you which narcotics have you dispensed as a healthcare provider to patients. And a lot of times, or actually all the time, 100% of the time, it's been accurate. But starting in March of 2019, I started seeing some patients under my name that I've never seen. So obviously, I was a little bit confused and irritated because if I'm not prescribing anything to somebody, then obviously their name should not be on there. And I called the Illinois Prescription Monitoring Database, and they said that they had no idea what was going on, and I should call the pharmacy. So I did call the pharmacy, and what I found out was that there was another healthcare prescriber that had my name, but was a medical doctor with a DO title, Doctor of Osteopathy, that he was prescribing these medications to these patients. And they were in a separate area from where I practice. It was about 2 hours away in Illinois. And the way I found out what pharmacy these patients were using is because this information is available in the prescription monitoring database. But the story actually goes deeper and deeper, and believe it or not, it's been more than a year now, and it has not been resolved, believe it or not. So I did call the pharmacy and I asked them that, hey, why did you prescribe this medication under my name? So the pharmacist actually told me that the prescription was received through the electronic medical system to the pharmacist, but the electronic medical system did not have the DEA number. So what the pharmacist did was he looked up SOT, and 10 of them or maybe 20 of them came by on the list, and my name was the first one on the list, so they chose my DEA number, and that's the end of the story. And as you can see, I'm so confused because they should not be doing that. And I mean, the major clue is that this person, this other Saad, he's a doctor. I'm a nurse practitioner. So how can you not see that? And if you don't see it, then you should be looking for it. You should be looking at all the data that the system provides. So I told them to fix it, and they said they will. Well, a couple months later, and the reason why I checked it a couple months later is because they told me it was going to take some time to figure this out because they have never encountered this kind of problem. But looking at my situation, it's happened many times, but it seems like I'm one of the first few people that's actually caused this problem because I do check who I'm prescribing to in my search history in the prescription monitoring database. So a couple months later, when I checked it again, there were actually at least 10 or 20 more people that were under my name that I never saw, and I did not prescribe the medications to. So I called the pharmacist again, and this time, because there were so many patients, each patient was going to a different pharmacy. And I had to call each and every one of the pharmacies to figure this problem out. And a lot of them, they gave me so many answers that were not helpful. Like, for example, that pharmacist that originally dispensed this medication, they're not here, they're on vacation. Okay, well, what am I supposed to do? I still need the problem fixed, the problem that you guys created. And then eventually they said they'll take care of it. So I checked after another month, and now there were even more patients. In total, I believe there were 20 to 30 patients under my name that I never saw and that I never prescribed to. So somehow I figured out who the doctor was, and I called the doctor and I explained to this doctor what's been going on, and he actually said that he's not aware of the problem and he's willing to help, and he asked what he needs to do, and I told him that you need to put in your DEA number on the prescription, even if it's through the electronic medical record system, and then prescribe it. And of course he said, oh yes, we'll correct it. And this situation went on and on and on for, well, it's still not resolved. It's been over a year now. And I also talked to the Walgreens manager, and the manager said, hey, we're doing everything we can to fix this. Obviously, there are a lot of locations that the patients went to, and he doesn't have the authority for all those locations. So he needs to contact other managers who are working in those locations that needs to fix this problem. So it's still not resolved, guys. The reason why I'm telling you this is because every prescriber needs to check under my PMP on the website, on the prescription monitoring website, and just make sure that the information is accurate. Because God forbid if somebody needs to go to court, and this may be 10 years later, it may be 20 years later, I'm not gonna remember which exact patient I saw 10 or 20 years ago. So at that time, I'm still gonna be thinking, hey, maybe I saw these patients right now. And that is the main reason why this needs to be taken care of immediately, because 20 years later, you're not gonna have memory of which exact patient you saw. You may not even have memory of the exact place that you worked, because some people have one job for 10 years, 20 years. Some other people have 30 jobs, in the next 10 or 20 years. So that is my frustration. I've called the managers at Walgreens. I've talked to the people that work in the Illinois Prescription Monitoring Service. I've even talked to the manager that runs the Illinois Prescription Monitoring Service. All of them have been giving me indirect answers. And between the managers and the managers of Walgreens and the managers of Illinois Prescription Monitoring Database, they keep telling me that the other person needs to fix it. So the Walgreens is telling me that the Prescription Monitoring Database people need to fix it because they have the authority. And the Prescription Monitoring Database people have been telling me that Walgreens needs to send them the information so they can delete it, which Walgreens have said that they already have done that months ago. So as you guys can see, I'm already getting frustrated, and I hope it doesn't happen to anybody else, but if it does, this problem, it seems to be a rare problem that's out in the surface. What I mean is that the problem may be in a lot of numbers, but nobody knows about it because a lot of people do not check their prescription monitoring database information. One more way that the prescription monitoring system is flawed is this. This one day I was checking my PMP, and it actually said that I prescribed a controlled substance 3 different times on 3 different days. And each of those days were about 3 or 4 days apart to one patient. So I did not do this. I actually called the pharmacist and I asked them, hey, what's going on? I did not prescribe this in this manner. So you guys are the one who are sending the data to the prescription monitoring database. And why are you doing that? So the pharmacy actually told me that each time they take the medication bottle away from whatever cabinet that they have it in, and let's say the delivery driver leaves the pharmacy. Now, as soon as that delivery driver leaves, the pharmacist has already put it in the system that the patient has received it. Now, as the delivery driver is going to the patient's house, anything can happen that may not end up being delivered. For example, let's say the delivery driver cannot find the house. Let's say it's in a big building and they don't want to leave the medication just anywhere. So if they can't find the patient's apartment door, then they'll just bring it back to the pharmacy. Let's say the patient, a lot of them are elderly in the homes. They're not able to answer their door for some reason. And in this situation, the delivery driver brings it back. So even though the patient never received the medication, the pharmacist will actually not delete that information from the prescription monitoring database. So what ended up happening is that the delivery driver tried 2 different times to deliver the medication to the patient, and they were unable to. And the 3rd time, they were actually able to deliver the medication. The patient actually grabbed it, so it was received. But the 3rd time that it happened, the pharmacist should have deleted the information the first 2 times, because even though it may have been dispensed from the pharmacy, it was never received. So that did not happen. Even to this day, it's been months now, that all that information is still there. So my recommendation would be to not use a delivery pharmacy in the home care setting. avoiding the delivery pharmacy is impossible, because the patients that are homebound, they're homebound. A lot of them do not have family members that are able to grab those medications from the pharmacy. So the only way to get those medications to the patients is by having them delivered. So this is my prescription monitoring database. I appreciate the system because it does allow us to check, which patients are receiving what medication. But just from what I'm telling you, as you can see, that prescription, that information is not accurate. And the process to fix this problem is absent. It's not even broken. It's absent because it hasn't even been fixed one time. The problem that is under my name, now there's about 20, 30 different problems or different instances under my name. Not even one of them have been fixed. So it's kind of like many other things in the healthcare system, that the way to prescribe is there, but the way to resolve the issue, I guess people didn't think about, the problems that could appear with the system. Just like with many problems with the narcotic system, that a lot of healthcare providers know how to prescribe it, but many of them don't know how to stop the medication in a healthy manner. They were just never trained. So there you go, guys. Here's my story. I hope what you get out of this is you log into the prescription monitoring database system and you look under what is under your name, because what you may find may be shocking, may be frustrating. And if enough people have the problem, if enough people voice this out, then the prescription monitoring database managers will actually do something about it. Because obviously, if one person, which is me, has this problem, calling them over and over again, every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, for a year, or longer than that now, will not do anything. All right, guys. Goodbye.